Hey everyone, my guest today is Nina White. Nina is currently performing at the Cherry Lane Theater in New York City in a new play or a revival of a glorious play called You Got Older with Ali Shawkat. This is coming right on the heels of her starring role on Broadway in Queen of Versailles, where she played Kristen Chenoweth's daughter, Victoria Siegel. Her other Broadway and off-Broadway credits include, but are not limited to, Kimberly Akimbo and the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. On film and television, she's in A Different Man and Long Bright River. Let's not spend time reading bios because I have the glorious talent that is Nina White with me on the podcast. Welcome. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. So happy to be chatting with you.
Well, you just are in all my favorite things, so thank you for that.
Oh, my
Um,
pleasure.
I speak to a lot of people who are deep into decades-long careers, and it's
Uh-huh.
always really thrilling to get to talk to someone who's more at the beginning of something, and then I'll
Yeah.
have you back decades from now, and we can remember this moment.
Right. I can laugh
You
at
can
at any wisdom I thought I had at this moment in
exactly.
time. Yep.
Well, I bet there's a lot that you wouldn't laugh at because what feels so clear to me is sort of your rigor, dedication, and discipline around craft and passion. And so before we get into, if you don't live in New York City, it's hard to explain how if there's an it girl or an it person, the Cherry Lane Theater right now is like the it theater, like where it's intimidating because it's where all the cool kids go.
Totally.
So let's start there, and then with the great Peter Friedman and your beautiful cast.
Yes.
Peter was on the show recently before this play talking about Job or Job, however you say that play. Um, Also, just a
Yes.
remarkable talent. How did this play come to you? And tell me so far, still earlier in the run,
Uh-huh.
how it's going. What attracted you to the play, the part? You seem to love family shows, plays
I
about
do.
families. So then we'll talk about your family.
Awesome. Well, the play has been such a wonderful experience so far. And the way that it came into my life was this past December, I was in the Queen of Versailles and on Broadway. And at the time, I did not yet know that we were going to be closing, but we closed by the end of December. It was a very swift closing. But I had gotten a tape in my inbox from my wonderful agents um, for this play. And at first I was like, well, it starts the first week of January. Like, I don't think there's any way that I would be free to do it. And my reps are very smart and thoughtful. And they were like, you know what? Like, you never know. So maybe like let's do a tape. And then you did it. And also, I love Claire Barron's work. And so when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, you're kidding me that like a Claire Barron play is going up downtown and I'm not free. Like,
Right,
uh,
right.
you know, um, but my reps were like, you know what, just do a tape. And the very, very wonderful Taylor Williams was casting it. And she, I feel like, has been I feel like she's really looked out for me in the past couple of years. And they were like, we talked to Taylor. She obviously knows the situation. She knows you're in a show, but she was like, just go ahead and audition. And so I did. And I honestly like I really didn't think that I would be doing this job for like a lot of different reasons. Um,
Right.
but then the Queen of Versailles ended up closing. May she rest in peace. And then my schedule was open and I got a call back and then I ended up getting this show, which was so um I had expressed that I really wanted to do a a little play
Hmm.
after the Queen of Versailles. I wanted to do something that felt very different. And honestly, when it seemed like we were not going to be running nearly as long as I thought we would be, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing after the Queen of Versailles. I'll be happy to do anything, you know? And so I can't believe that I'm like truly getting to do like exactly the kind of thing that I was hoping to do after the Queen of Versailles. And
Yeah, this gem, this little
yes.
gem. Can you tell people who don't live in New York and may not get a chance to see it or may
Yeah.
not have seen it in its previous rendition years ago. Can you tell briefly, I'm sure you're skilled at it at this point, the story of this
Yes.
family play?
Yes, so this play, You Got Older by Claire Barron, it's about this woman played wonderfully by Alia Shawkat who moves, her life is kind of falling apart. Her boyfriend breaks up with her. She loses her job. She's a kind of a mess. And she moves back home to live with her dad while her dad is undergoing cancer treatment. And it's about her being there with him as he is going through this really strange time in his life. She's going through this strange time in her life, and they're kind of running parallel to one another. Yeah, and it's about family and what does it mean to be close to your family. Claire always talks about how the play is about being present, which I think is a really good summary. It's about like we always want more time with our family, but then why, when we're with our family, are we thinking like, maybe I need a cup of water, or I don't know, oh, I forgot, I need to text my friend back about this thing, or like, I don't know, maybe we should just like watch some TV, or like, why is it's so hard to be present with them, even though we're
Yeah, and
all
how to
kind of
prioritize. Yeah,
yes, we want to
yeah.
be with them, but then why is it so hard? Why can it be so hard to just be with them? So
And who
yeah,
we become, we're one person out in the world, and then how we revert to our childhood roles, especially if you have
absolutely.
siblings, but even if you don't, sort of the dynamics. And in this play, you guys come back to all be with your dad together.
Yes,
And those
yes,
are the scenes where all of the family are together.
yes.
I think a lot about how directors work and
Hmm.
how they either let something happen organically or through exercises and rehearsal. I've
Hmm.
had Danya Tamor on the show a few times, who's also dealt with a lot of bigger casts and sort of
Yeah,
creating as quickly as she can relationships that will be
yeah,
believable after, 3 weeks of rehearsing something. So
yeah.
I want to sort of look at these two shows you've just done back to back, which are really at the center of each of those pieces about family. Very
Hmm.
different circumstances, both financially and circumstantially,
Right.
but kind of looking at how Michael Arden worked in Versailles and how, you were just talking, Annie uh,
Hmm.
Kaufman, who directed this current play.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, and by the way, listeners, I saw in Nina's bio that she had done a book report on Kristen Chenoweth's memoir earlier in her academic career. So you
True.
have this sense of who she was, and now she's playing your, right, like Hero now is your mother on a show.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Talk a little bit about process in that way, and you can start with one and then the other, or if you want to compare the two, because they're such different worlds, what
Yeah.
that's been like for you.
Yeah. The processes were so, so different. I think for so many reasons. Starting, I guess, with the Queen of Versailles, because I did that first chronologically.
Yeah.
I I was with I've been working, on and off on the Queen of Versailles. I worked on it starting in March or February of 2023. And so I was working on it for close to 3 years. And in that time, because it was new, it was like the literal material of the show, the words and the music were ever changing. And I think that a lot of the time that I spent there was really just trying to be in service to the writers and um, the creative team, trying to figure out what the heck the show was and how they wanted to tell the story. Like, I think there was something about the Queen of Versailles that really felt like, yeah, like I was hired to do, I was hired to lend my mind and my skills to helping everyone else like complete their piece of like a truly massive musical puzzle. And
Yeah.
a lot of the time when I was working on Queen of Versailles, I did a lot of work on my own, honestly. I feel like um because there were so many things that everyone was trying to figure out. But I think that Michael has like the most unbelievable mind for big picture. It's astounding to me. Um, and the way that he the way that his mind works, and he's able to, like, once we were finally into like staging step in the show, like for our out of town tryout that we did in Boston a couple years ago, and then again we went to Broadway. The way that Michael is able to just like look at everyone, this giant cast of like 20, 21 people, and
Yeah.
these giant set pieces, and be like, okay, this is, I think, where this needs to move here, this needs to move here, and he is able to create the most like seamless, beautiful stage picture and movement on stage. That was something that, like, working with him, I was always so struck by. And I don't know that I have a big picture mind in that way. So I was always like,
Right.
um, okay, if Michael says, like, Nina, you gotta be on four, you know, when you're singing this song, I always, I don't know, I had so much trust in his mind, like his visual mind is so unbelievable. And I was happy to be a part of his world, making that show. And
Right.
my relationship with Kristen, I think, just like very slowly over time. I mean, Kristen had so much work to do in that show. So a lot of the time, too, I was like, I'm just going to let Kristen do her thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, we got to know each other over the course of years, and that was really special. She's someone who I looked up to and still look up to. I looked up to her for so long. I wrote a book report on her memoir, and I really feel like she could not have lived up to whatever image I had of her. She completely lived up to it. She was so open-hearted and generous, and she's so interested in. She's such a collaborator with Stephen, with Lindsay, with Michael, um, and she really, really cared for her fellow castmates. Like she mothered us in a way, you know, and that was really amazing. And I always felt very comfortable with her on stage playing her daughter. I felt very safe with her. I felt like we got each other. I don't know. And then, yeah, with You Got Older, Annie, I mean, it's just a completely different show. It's so much smaller in comparison.
Yeah.
And also, it's not new, which this is my first time doing like a lengthy process of a show that's not new, basically since graduating college. And that was really, it's been really amazing because um, Annie's energy is really can just be focused on like what's happening in the scene. Obviously, she also has to have the same mind towards like how are things moving on stage, of course, but there are so many, the script is completely set in stone, and she also directed it in the original production in 2014.
Right.
So she had
Right.
very strong instincts about what was happening in the play. And yeah, I honestly think I think I I think that it was cast really well, if that makes sense. Like in terms of the family dynamic, I think
Yeah.
they did a wonderful job of picking really kind people, um, who are warm, and so it's very easy to play their siblings or play Peter's daughter. Um, and yeah, I think Annie has had a very, very clear sense of the like energetic ebb and flow of our long family scene that we have. And we got it on its feet really early. We got it on its feet, you know, like 3 or 4 days into rehearsal. And we just moved very slowly through the scene physically. And we would go back, we do it again. And over time, you know, she's like she makes little tiny tweaks that over time you're like, oh, the scene feels completely different. Um, but yeah, so both Michael and Annie was so amazing to work with both of them, especially so early in my career. It's crazy.
Yeah. And also sort of, in Kimberly Akimbo, having Victoria Clark, having these like people who've dedicated their entire lives now to the theater and
Yeah.
working in the theater and coming up as a younger person to be in the presence of people who have loved it for so long that
Yes.
they've stayed and
Yes.
still come to work each night with the same passion and commitment that you are coming to
Yeah.
work with. Can we talk a little bit about your journey to New York? And because you're from the Midwest,
I
right?
am, yes. I'm from Michigan. Yep. Yeah, I grew up in Michigan. I lived in Salt Lake City, Utah for a couple years, and we moved back to Michigan. But in my heart, definitely, I'm a Michigander. And yeah, I started getting into theater in middle school. I found it through dance. I loved dance, and I was very, very serious about dance from a very young age. And I wasn't interested in theater until I did this kind of theater workshop at my dance studio, and I was like, oh, that's super fun. Um, and
So you
then
weren't listening to like Broadway cast albums growing up
no,
in
I
your
was
house as a
not.
kid. That wasn't
No,
the vibe.
no, I no. It's so funny. A lot of times people talk about like, oh my God, and I remember when I was 6, I went to go
Right.
see whatever, and I was like, I want to do that. I I felt that way about like ballet
Hmm.
so strongly, but I kind of feel like I learned to love theater by doing in a way. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, wait. And then once I got into it, I was like, oh, I need to watch everything on YouTube. I need to listen to every cast recording.
Wait,
Um,
so you weren't singing as a little kid,
I I mean, I liked singing. I liked singing,
but people weren't like,
but
I'm sorry.
no,
You're aware what you're
no.
doing is not what most people can do with the voce. Like, no, that did not
Honestly,
happen.
no. Like,
Huh.
no. And there was a lot of music in my house growing up, but it was mostly like a Suzuki violin. Like, we played, I don't know, like, and my dad loves classical music. So, like, and my dad really likes opera. So, those kinds of things were playing,
Yeah.
or we listened to a lot of, like, really honestly amazing, like, children's folk music. But
Fun.
neither of my parents were into theater at all.
Right.
I think that my mom and dad had both seen Les Mis, and I think my dad helped. Well, I'm sure they saw other theater, but it was not a part of my growing up. It's so like funny that I'm what got so into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you brought them with you. You
I
brought them on the
did.
journey.
I did, and
So
they're so supportive.
you go from dance and then there's some like organized class
Yep.
that brings musical theater into your
Yep.
life and now you're singing and dancing at the
Singing and
same
dancing.
time. And were you
Exactly.
like, wait a minute, this feels
Yes.
really good. This is so
Yes.
fun. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I was just like, this is so fun. I love doing this. And then in the Detroit area, there's so much amazing community theater. I feel so lucky that I
Yeah.
got into theater living there, because then I did a bunch of community theater in middle school. And then once I got to high school, I kind of had already decided that I wanted to study theater in college and pursue it as a career. Um, and then and so then, yeah, in high school, I don't know, I still did tons and tons of dance through high school. I was very serious about dance. And then, yeah, and then I went to college for musical theater. I went to University of Michigan. Very lucky to be in state there. And it's a wonderful program. I had a great time. I learned so much. And then I graduated into the pandemic. I graduated in 2020,
Wow.
which was not ideal.
So
But
where did you go?
yeah,
Like what happened then?
I finished out my college apartment lease until August of 2020. Then I moved back home, and I lived there for about a little less than a year. I moved to New York in June of 2021.
And what did that look like?
That looks like a kind of like terror. Um, I had, I mean, we did like a college showcase. I didn't get anything from it. I was like, what am I doing? I was in a very kind of unsure time in terms of like my artistry. I love school. I love being a student. So I think by the time I was leaving college, I was always really worried about doing things right, like wanting to be
Mm.
right in class, wanting to take the notes so well You know what I mean? And so then
Yeah.
by the time I was leaving college, I was like, I don't even know what do I think is right in the scene? What do I think is unique about me or whatever, like being an artist. I was really lost in the sauce. So I was like, I guess I'm gonna move to New York because that's what I decided I would do. But I'm gonna move to be a nanny, honestly, at this point, because I don't have an agent. There were no like in-person auditions happening at the time. I couldn't like go to an open call because it was still, COVID was still around. Um,
Right.
but strangely, I actually, if you go back into the spring of 2020, I had emailed Telsey, the casting office, who was casting Kimberly Akimbo off Broadway, which at the time was going to be off Broadway in the fall of 2020. One of my best friends got an audition for it. I read with him. I was his reader for his audition, and then I was like, wait, there are these two teen girls in this. I'm never going in for anything in New York. Like that wasn't a part of my college experience. And so I was like, maybe if Telsey would let me send a tape, I think this could be a really good introduction to what I feel like I'm good at, which is like playing quirky teenagers at the time. And Telsey did let me do a tape, and I never heard anything. Whatever. The
Did
pandemic
you
rages
literally
on.
just like email the casting person who your friend had been in contact
Yes.
with and said, "Hey, I read for my friend. Would you be open to me sending a tape as well?" And you just got an email back saying, "Okay."
Yeah, I honestly, I was like, hi, I'm Nina White. I'm an upcoming graduate of the University of Michigan. I think that U of M, I think I was so lucky that that's where I went to school. I think that that's where I think they like
That
emailed me
means
back.
something.
To be
Yeah, yeah,
honest,
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
yeah.
must give credit where credit is due. I think that they probably emailed me back because that's where I was going to school.
Okay, I'm gonna
Um,
get in the weeds for
yeah,
1 second
yeah,
because as actors with each other, there's all of these like tricky moments too.
yeah,
So did you sort of ask your friend who you were helping, are you okay? Like, can you share like, how did you
yeah.
navigate that? Because it's so weird and awkward when that stuff is happening.
It is so weird and awkward. To be honest, you know what? He's like one of my very best friends in the world. He was then and he is now. And I think that he's just a kind and loving friend.
Right. And
And
wasn't
I'll
worried like, oh wait, they're gonna get mad at me that I'm sharing the email. Like
Yeah,
he was totally
right.
fine with it.
I
Yeah,
also didn't cite him in my email. I just was like,
right.
"Hi, my name is Nina White, and I am I
You
just
say,
had the email, but I
yes.
didn't say, how I got
Got
it
it,
or
got it, got
whatever."
it, got it. Okay,
Yeah, right.
sorry to
Oh no,
sidebar, but I
it's a good
always for people
question.
listening, it's always like, well, wait. I mean, obviously now you can Google email addresses of
Right,
casting people. It's not
right.
like you're going through, their garbage to find out their email address. But
Sure.
I was
No,
just curious.
that's a really good point. I also had known, yeah, I also honestly, when I did that, I was like, I'm sure they're not going to email me back.
Right. No
You know
one's
what I
reading
mean?
this. Of
Right,
course.
exactly. And honestly, like, it was not, Craig Burns was the casting director on Kimberly Akimbo. And I knew that, yeah, I had never met Craig before. I didn't know but I knew that Telsey really, they respected, they loved
People from
students
your
that came out of my
program.
school.
Yes, and
And so, and Gavin,
Beloved
exactly.
Gavin, and
Oh my God, the
Celia, and all these
best.
incredible people.
Yes.
So there is
So
a
I,
history.
yes, and I feel that was a big, like, such a privilege about going to school there is that you have all these wonderful people who precede you. And so then, I think people are maybe a little bit more generous, or they're open to getting an email from a college student because of the wonderful alumni that came before you. So that's like,
Yeah,
could never take credit for, I feel like that's why they emailed me back. You know what I
but
mean?
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so you put yourself on tape
I
for Kimberly
did.
Akimbo. Did it start at the
Yes.
Atlantic? Am I
It did. Yep. At the
okay?
Atlantic. Yep.
Okay. So then
And
what happens?
so,
It's a
right. So
nail
then,
biter. Yeah.
so that was like March of 2020 when, it was lockdown, but they thought things would be back in like the fall of 2020. Obviously that was not the case, whatever. Over a year passed, never heard anything from them, which was exactly what I anticipated. And I felt
Yeah.
very peaceful about it.
It's all going
And that
according to script.
exactly, I was moving to New York, gosh, I don't know what I was going to do, but I was moving. And then truly like about 3 weeks before I was moving to New York, I got an email that actually went to my junk email. I used to have a really good habit of checking my junk email because I missed a college assignment one time because it went to my junk. I saw that Craig Burns had emailed me like over a year after this initial tape, and he had emailed me saying like, "Hey Nina, would you mind like sending another tape for Kimberly Akimbo at the Atlantic, which will then be in the fall of 2021?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yes." So then I taped for it, and then I moved to New York, and I had my final callback for it. Excuse me, the day after I moved here.
Shut up.
It was just
What?
insane. It was crazy, and it was not what I like. I cannot emphasize enough that I was not feeling lucky in this time in my life. I wasn't
Right.
like, oh yeah. I truly was like, this might be the stupidest decision ever that I'm like moving to New York. Like, for what? Well, what is going to happen there right now?
Right. Also, pandemic, like a
Right.
million things. Also, the most
Exactly.
expensive place in the world. Also,
Exactly.
like
Right.
you could
No
not, yeah.
agent. No, like,
Wow.
yeah.
Wait,
So,
and so
yeah.
you got it.
Yeah.
Within minutes of moving to New York,
Yes.
you have the off-Broadway production of Kimberly Akimbo.
Yes.
That is the
Those,
story we are telling today. These are the
yes.
facts
Those
of
are
Nina
the
White's
facts.
entry into her professional career in New York City.
It's true.
People have now turned off this episode.
They're like, all right, that's enough. We've heard enough.
Not about Anita White.
Yeah.
Wow. What a great welcome. Welcome to New
Yeah.
York. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
we've been waiting for you.
Exactly. And then you meet all
Yeah.
those incredible people and you start
Yes.
developing your first professional relationships and
Hmm.
family, which is what
Yes.
happens
Yes.
with the extraordinary cast. And have you just kept going since?
I have. Yeah. I feel so like that's been the story. Honestly, I think just I was so fortunate to start out with Kimberly Akimbo. Like, I'm so fortunate to get the job in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And um,
And
it's
Jesse
just,
Stone, like just the most,
oh,
like the kind, not only the most talented
yeah.
director, just the kindest human on planet
Yes.
Earth, maybe in
Yeah.
the stars as well.
Yes.
So how,
She's
and
the
like,
best.
yes, and so
Yes.
caring of her cast, and especially young people in
Absolutely.
her cast.
Absolutely. And it was very special to do that with her. That probably sounds so funny because I was like 21 or 22 or whatever. But
Yeah.
that was Jess's New York directing debut when we did it at the Atlantic. And so we all knew, that it was a really big deal for her. And she just
Yeah.
like knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Um, I do think, to speak to what you're saying, like, and then it just kind of kept going from there. I kind of feel that Kimberly Akimbo is like exactly my favorite kind of musical. It's like exactly my artistic taste. And so I think that being introduced to this industry, doing a job that was like so in line with like this feels like me, this is the kind of musical I care about, the kind of musical I want to make. I kind of feel like that it's made it easier to continue doing that kind of thing. I have been so lucky that I haven't had the experience of like, okay, well, I got this job and it's awesome for these reasons, but I don't know, I've still got to kind of work my way to try to get to the part, like to get to jobs that I really want. Like I just was so lucky. I don't know what I did or what kind of karma in a past life I built up or something because it was beyond me
Yeah. But
that yeah,
what a
happened.
beautiful, beautiful, that's the magic part of all of this, right? I mean, when a person and a part are so beautifully, like chemically, organically, like when it all just meshes in a way so that you can bring your full self to something
Yeah,
without like feeling like you're contorting yourself in all these ways. And that
exactly.
works too. Often we do have jobs,
Absolutely.
right? And you're like, the
Yes.
wig is itchy and it doesn't feel like me, whatever.
Right.
Um, but yeah, and also just, shows with, I mean, that show especially. is just literally like everyone in it and every audience member. It's like we all just like took our hearts out of our chests, put them
Yeah.
on the outside of our bodies, and we're
Yes.
like, let us proceed to be in
Right.
this room with the spirit of these characters in place. Do you know what you're doing after this play?
I do not. I have no idea. I have no idea.
So
Yeah.
how does that work for you? How are you built around mystery?
I feel right now very peaceful about the mystery.
Hmm.
To be honest, I think that in part that's because I'm someone who I have absolutely like no ego about like, well, I don't have work in theater or whatever right now, so like I've got to be a nanny, to pay my rent. Like that to me, I
That's
feel
the
so
life.
yeah, to me
That's
I'm
the
like
life.
that's the
Yeah.
life. So on I think that that helps me like not be so worried. I'm like I know that I'm really great with kids
Mhm.
and I'll
I
like
can
I
play one and I can care
exactly.
for them. Yes.
Exactly. And I
Yes.
think that I'm like, I will always have a way that I can pay my rent. That
Yeah.
I think that takes pressure off in a huge way. And
Yeah.
that it doesn't bother me. I don't care, I guess. You know what I mean? I'm like, such is life. You are a Kristen Chenoweth's daughter, and then you gotta go to preschool pickup. Like you gotta do it. Um, and
Exactly.
right. And so I think that that takes the pressure off so much about like what's my next job going to be. And also, yeah, I feel pretty peaceful. I've been so fortunate that there are, and there's so many things I see all the time, of course, that I'm like, oh my God, wait, I wish I had, auditioned for that or whatever, like, or oh my gosh, it's, of course, compare and despair is
Right.
always,
Is a
you always
bumper
got to fight
sticker we
it.
could all read. Right.
Right.
Right. For sure.
Right.
For
It's
sure.
ever present, but I am so lucky in what I've already done, and I feel like I've already exceeded my own dreams for whatever was going to be happening in my life professionally at this age. And I never anticipated Kimberly Kimbo. I never anticipated Queen of Versailles. I never anticipated You Got Older. And so I feel trusting in the universe that something that I never anticipated will
We'll
come
greet you
at some point.
again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know
What,
when.
when does, um, when does You Got Older run until?
Until April 26th, April 28th.
Okay. So people have time. What have
Yeah.
conversations like stage door conversations been like? I'm sure it brings up so much for people. Um,
Hmm.
and people want to share. And when it's an intimate theater, they're even more inclined to be like, we've just spent all this time. You know me. I was at, in
Right.
row three, seat B.
Right.
Like what's the feedback been that sort of moved you or that you've kind of
Hmm.
taken with you?
I feel like, well, something interesting about the Cherry Lane is that, and I don't know if it's because it's true. You said she's like the cool girl of
Yeah.
theater in New York right now. She's like, has her cigarette.
Yeah.
Um, there's not been a lot of stage dooring. I think people are kind of like, I'm gonna go
Interesting.
on my way.
Yeah.
However, I've heard from a lot of people that first of all, they love this play. They loved it
Mhm.
prior. Like when they announced the cast, I heard from many people like, "Oh my God, like I'm so excited that they're doing this play in New York again. I can't believe you're in it." What like
So
people just
people are
love the
coming
play.
back who loved it the first time
Yes,
and they want to
exactly.
experience it again.
Yes, or they've
Yeah.
read it and they're like, so excited they can see it on stage. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, just the other day, I had a couple of dear friends who came to see it who saw the original production, also directed by Annie Kaufman. Oh, we talked about that earlier. But
Yeah.
and they were just like, it holds up just as well, and it's just as like beautiful a production the second
And
time.
relevant and of right.
Yes,
It always will feel
yes,
now because family is always so present. It would be
yes.
interesting to interview Annie. I think to talk to someone the piece is the same, but they've changed, like where they are in their life. It's
Yes.
always so interesting to me when
Yes.
the same people are involved in a revival of something,
Yes.
because that's like she's been on a whole journey,
Yes.
since then as well.
Yes.
Okay, I am, I am so proud of you,
Thank you.
by proximity to
Thank
your
you.
to your beautiful work and
Thank
just
you.
your openness and warmth. And it's like very exciting to get to meet someone who is just so lovely and kind and passionate. And thank you for all the beautiful work I've already gotten to see. And I wonder, before I let you go, if
Yeah.
there is a little known fact about Nina White that you can share.
Really great question. A little known fact about me is that I, as well as studying theater, musical theater in college, I also studied German. I got a minor in German because I had the best high school German teacher ever. This was not a language I was ever interested in.
Right.
And I
Wasn't
went
in
to,
your home.
nope,
Yeah.
nope.
Maybe an
Um,
opera.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
But I had the best. I just wanted to have a good language teacher. So I asked my school counselor, who does everyone like the most? They said, I heard good things about the German teacher, and I had the best teacher ever, Frau Richmond. Shout out to her. Um,
Here's to
and
the teachers.
right, oh my gosh, we owe everything to them.
Yeah.
And my German's kind of rusty these days, but I did study it all through college, and I used to be fluent. So I
Have
gotta
you been?
gotta practice.
Have you
I
traveled
have,
there?
I
So you were able
have.
to use it in
Yeah.
earnest, as it were.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
all right. Well, can you take us out and say goodbye in German?
Sure. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf
Tschüss.
Wiedersehen. Thank you,
Danke für
Nina.
alle. Of
Dankeschön.
course.
Dankeschön.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.